All right, we're back broadcasting live at the Toms River Auto Group studio right here in Northfield. Billy Schweim, my locker room youth movement producer Nikki Earnshaw, and the intern Andrew Leeds with me today. And guys, I was tipped off to this our next guest, Jerry Izenberg. He's got a new book, Larry Doby in Black and White: The Story of a Baseball Pioneer, which he wrote. He's in numerous, too many Hall of Fames to name. He's a Hall of Fame journalist from the Newark Star-Ledger. Let's go to the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room legendary columnist Jerry Izenberg. Good morning, Jerry.
Well, you overstated it. It's a pleasure to be here. And at 93, it's a pleasure to be anywhere.
I got to tell you, man, when I found out you're still writing, I'm like, holy moly, man. That's pretty impressive.
Well, not to me.
Well, it's something you love to do. I mean, you've been doing it for your whole life. You've attended what? You went to
70. I've been doing it for 73 years.
And Jerry, you went to what? The first 54, 53 Super Bowls? You attended all of them?
It was Jerry Green and I, Detroit. We were the only two fighters, regular column, two daily one, to do 53 Super Bowls. And he wound up 55, and at 54, a funny thing happened to me. I was on the back stretch at Churchill Downs after the Super Bowl, and the alarm bell went off where they stable of horses, and that indicated a horse was loose. And I said, "You better run." And I said, "Hell, you're kidding. You can't even freaking walk." And so I finished the Triple Crown races, and I have not been on an airplane since, and that's 5 years ago.
Oh,
but I'm still writing for the paper because for some reason people will answer my phone calls.
Well, you got a new book out, and I got to be honest with you, I wasn't aware. I mean, I've heard of Larry Doby, but he obviously lived in the shadow of Jackie Robinson, excuse me. I had a little brain cramp there. He lived in the shadow of Jackie Robinson, but on July 5th, 1947, he made his debut for the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, it was a tough road, a lot more sledding. The name of the first chapter, by the way, Jackie was in Brooklyn, was Cleveland Ain't Brooklyn. He went to a town that had segregated schools, segregated hospitals, an amusement park that blacks couldn't go to, and segregated movie theaters. And he had, on the road, he could not stay. Yeah, there were two Jim Crow towns when he broke in, St. Louis and Washington. But on the road, every town was, all hotels were segregated, everywhere. And he had to live in a black boarding house with a little family. And a cake of ice on the table, blowing on the ice, and hopefully he could get cooler to walk to the game because taxi cabs wouldn't pick him up. And
wow.
See, Jackie, the thing about Jackie was Jackie got a great break by playing in Brooklyn. Number one, Brunswick, he told the guys, "You're not going to play with a black guy, I'll trade you," which he did. He traded the most popular Dodger of all, Dixie Walker. And then Jackie lived in the community. When they played home games, Jackie was at home. They'd see him, people would see him in the supermarket. They'd see him in the drugstore. And he was part of the community. Larry went home when the season ended, but he had some tough times until then.
I know we're talking with legendary columnist Jerry Izenberg with his new book, Larry Doby in Black and White: The Story of a Baseball Pioneer, is now on sale. I know Jackie Robinson, when he went to opposing cities, he was pretty rough for him. I can imagine it was just as rough, if not harder, for Larry Doby.
Oh, it was hard. It was harder because in the beginning, you have to understand, when Bill Veeck signed him, Bill Veeck was not Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey got the role of great father to all black players. It wasn't true. The first three blacks he signed out of the Negro League, Jackie, Dan Bankhead, and I forget who the third one was, he didn't pay a dime for them. he violated their contracts.
Wow.
Then when Mrs. Manley owned the Newark Eagles. Monty Irvin and Larry Doby both played for the Eagles, and I saw them, all-black team. And they were great. But what happened with the Eagles was that Larry played under an assumed name. He was a high school senior his rookie year with the Eagles. And he had a 4-year scholarship to LIU. And the most famous case of all about a guy being paid to play a sport was Jim Thorpe. And he lost amateur standing. He played baseball, but he lost his medals. Well, the same thing was facing Larry. If they knew he was going to have a scholarship, they would have dropped his scholarship. So for the first year, he was not Larry Doby with the Eagles. He was Larry Walker from Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And I think when they brought the records back, and moved them up and blended the Black League records with the Major League records, I think that year might be missing. He might be higher yet, but Larry Walker isn't around to claim it.
And of course, Larry Doby, he led his American League. He led the Cleveland Indians to 111 victories in a 154-game season, and of course, they won the second World Series that year when they won 111 games. That's an outstanding achievement, and he was right in the middle of it.
Well, there's something about that World Series. 54, they lost. The first pennant in World Series they won in 28 years was in 1948. Larry was the star, and as a matter of fact, he hit a home run that won a game pitched by Steve Romek, the fourth pitcher in that rotation. All they wanted out of Steve was like 5-6 good innings, and they were in clover. But he pitched the whole game. Larry hit the home run. I won a lot of money in bar. So ask your folks to pay attention to this. I won it because I asked one question. For $5, who was the first black man to hit a home run in the World Series? And without fail, they say Jackie Robinson. It was Larry
Doby. How about that?
So Larry wins the game, and now he's hugging with Gromick, hugging each other. This magnificent picture, and it winds up appearing on front pages all through the South. And no black man and white man have ever hugged on the front page in the South at that point.
Wow.
And it was what happened with that picture. That picture kept Larry going when time went bad, because he went bad for a long time. But Gromick is the one that got the heat. He was from Hamtramck, Michigan. He goes home afterwards. Now, there's a guy who owns a bar there he grew up with. The guy he played Little League with, he played American Legion with, he played high school baseball. They were friends for 30 years. He goes to the bar to say hello to the guy. I'm home. Wasn't this series great? The guy walks right past him. So he says to one of the regulars, well, what's wrong with him? Well, the guy says, the picture.
Jeez.
So he turns around and confronts the guy, and not the guy a regular, but the guy's friend, and he says, what the hell is wrong with you? And the guy says, well, you could have shook his hand. You didn't have to almost kiss him. He walked out of the bar, lived in the same town with him for years, never spoke to him again.
That's great. Wow.
Now, Larry, posthumously, is awarded the Congressional Gold Citizens Medal.
Yeah.
The front of the medal is the same for everybody. But you picked the picture on the back. Larry Jr. got together with Gromack, Steve Jr., and the Gromack family, and that's the picture on the back of the medal, the two of them.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Wow.
And when he got elected, it took me a long time to help get him in. He couldn't get in the first time around with the players, not the players, but the writers voting. Well, some guy, I embarrassed the guy thinking when he said it. He said he hasn't got the numbers, Jerry. He doesn't have. The baseball writers often get decimal points. So I said to him, listen, I will give you Babe Ruth. I will give you Chris Speaker, the great center fielder of that era. And I will give you anybody else you want, and tell me what their numbers would have been if their lives were threatened every night, if their wives were threatened every night, and if kids were threatened every night. Well, nobody gave me a satisfactory answer, but he didn't get in. Now he winds up in the Veterans Committee. He says to me, listen, I'm going to Newcomb's condo in California. Let them find. I'm not going to get in, Jerry. So please stop writing about me in Hall of Fame because I don't want you to embarrass yourself. So I said I'll take one more shot. I wrote the meanest, nastiest thing I could about the Veterans Committee. And then I sent each of them a copy of the column. And it began with, no wonder I'm not surprised that the Veterans Committee has to put him in the Hall of Fame, because half you son of a bitches didn't even want him to play baseball in the first place. I mailed them to every member of the committee.
Wow.
I got one answer, and this is the answer. I hope I don't file a SEC, but I will.
We got the button.
But let me tell you, it says, dear, I'll change it. It didn't say dear Rex, but you know what? Monty Irvin and Yogi Berra have trying to get him since he came to the Veterans. So get off your fat ass, get the votes we need, and it was saying Ted Williams.
God, Nick.
All right.
We got him in.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Wow. Jerry, I want to ask you, it's Nick here, I'm the producer of the show. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the Major League Baseball returning to Rick Wood this past week to play a Major League Baseball game. Just your general thoughts on it.
My general thoughts are very simple. It's a nice thing, but it doesn't change facts or history. I remember when they retired Jackie's number from everywhere. You got to remember, Larry's number is retired in Cleveland, but he was the first black in the entire league for a year and a half.
Right.
The league wouldn't retire his.
Wow.
But anyway, I remember the night that Jackie, Unit 42, was retired. And I went there, and the editor of the paper said, write a nostalgic piece. And, well, nobody tells me what to write anyway because I'm not going to listen. So I'm there, and the freaking wind is blowing in off Flushing Bay. And everybody's freezing. But it's all these speeches. And I'm thinking, where were all you guys when he was trying to get you going to simply play a baseball game? And at that point, I look at the scoreboard, and there's a sign saying, tonight's lineup's brought to you by, and it names a beer company. And I'm saying they sold the scoreboard for this thing to try to redeem us. But to me, I wrote a piece, and I said, it was like a mugger, like you thanking the guy who's mugging you for not hitting you anymore.
Oh, man.
It was they just kept taking bow for what they did.
Yeah.
And hiding what they had done.
All right. Well, Jerry, this is a very interesting book. I've got a forwarded copy, but you can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And we really appreciate you taking time. I know you're living in Las Vegas, but we thank you. So there's a time change. We thank you so much for taking time and talking with us today.
Well, I appreciate it, and I don't live in Las Vegas. I live in Henderson. You couldn't put a gun in my mouth and say, move.
All right, Larry. Thank you so much, and Jerry, we'll talk to you again.
Okay, bye-bye.
There he is on the Tom's River Volkswagen Sports Hotline, Jerry Izenberg, with his new book, Larry Doby, Black and White. I wasn't aware of the significance of Larry Doby, but I've got the forwarded copy. I'm going to read it.
Yeah, no, that's somebody I don't even think I've
I
really
mean,
heard about.
he obviously played in the shadows of Jackie
We
Robinson.
hear about Jackie Robinson all the time. I mean, and for good reason. But yeah, a guy like Larry Doby, I want to know more about his story. I'm going to definitely look into that.
Yeah, so all
Check out
right,
that
get your
book.
copy at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Hey, for over 83 years, the Circle Liquor Store has offered the best selection of beer, wine, and spirits in South Jersey. It's a stone's throw away from Ocean City. It's a landmark. With a friendly staff, it's no wonder why Circle Liquors was named Best of Philly, Best of Atlantic City, with the most competitive prices around. The Circle Liquor Store is now a proud sponsor of the second hour of the Locker Room with Billy Schweim. Throwing a party, preparing for the big game? Let Chet and his staff make sure you have everything you need. Check out the website at circleliquors.com or give them a call at 609-927-2921. That's the Circle Liquor Store. Go down there and say hello to Jason. They deliver. I want to tell you about La Scala's Beach House. We got to get back there, Nikki, because
Yes.
the ambiance, right? They're on the beach. They get that outside. They get the beach bar area.
The aura and the vibes are fantastic.
Sit under the palm tree, have a nice
Yes.
cocktail.
Oh.
But their food is delicious. It opened last summer to rave reviews. It's your home away from home for a large selection of Italian, American, and seafood favorites, just like your grandma made. Plus, you'll love their famous pizza, their daily specials, and their game day menu. You want to go to La Scala's. It's located at 1400 Ocean Avenue in Brigantine. The food's outstanding. For more information, go to lascalasbeachhouse.com. Let's eat. When we return, we'll continue with more here in the locker room with Billy Schweim and my locker room youth movement, producer Nikki Earnshaw, and the intern Andrew Leeds, right here on 97.3 ESPN.